Where were you on September 11th, 2001?
I had work at 6 in the morning, and at the time I had just had my second child. I'm scrambling to get my kids to my family friend to watch them for the day. When I was dropping them off, I was already going to be late to work. I remember feeling frustrated and angry at myself for not preparing myself, for not managing my time, and was just really beating myself up. I remember I got to work and I had a meeting at 6:35. I was so unprepared, and I was going to give a pitch with my colleague for a new idea for a program at the time. I had also had a cousin who was a first responder. They were an EMT in New York. At the time, my family and I were trying to plan Thanksgiving and Christmas and what the holidays were going to look like for a family, and he would be flying in and where. I had spoken with my cousin the night before, and had talked about some of the flight details. Before my pitch, instead of reviewing my points, and concerning myself with what I wanted to do, and how I would present myself, I felt compelled to speak to my cousin about that vacation. I called my cousin around 6:20. When the first tower was hit, I had already been in my meeting. I was unaware of what was going on. About halfway into my presentation, my boss walked in. He had told my colleagues and I that a plane hit the World Trade Center. You remember feeling confused and shocked that somebody could make such a big mistake? I thought it had been an accident, a huge, expensive and sad accident. I had no idea what was coming. My boss had shared the information and left. Within minutes, he returned and told us to call our families. I had walked out of the conference room and asked about what had happened and was informed that the second plane hit. I called my significant other, and as I started to hear the first ring of the phone, I just thought about my cousin. It very quickly began with stress, and I just wanted to go pick up my kids. I had a lot of friends in New York at the time. I had been there visiting my cousin a few times already and had become familiar with people there, and I was getting paged left and right. My aunt had called me around 7:50 and had asked me if I had spoken to my cousin today. I had told my aunt about our phone call about the vacation, and she quickly informed me that she can't get a hold of my cousin. My aunt talked, and she asked me if I knew if my cousin was working that day, and I didn't. As far as we were concerned, it was outside of my cousin's jurisdiction and region, and they wouldn't have gotten a call to go to the towers. We were wrong. At the time, the office I worked at had switched over to new phones at everyone's desks, and unfortunately only a few were working. I had my coworkers asking me to borrow my phone at my desk, and I remember having a line of people waiting to use it. And then the first tower fell. That's when we really started to be concerned, and the news coverage. It was a constant feed blackout. Nobody knew what was going on, and then my aunt had called. She told me my cousin had a call to go in and help at the scene. And before I knew it, I was going to grab my kids. I remember being with my kids at home and just turning on the TV. I did not move from that TV. My partner called me and asked if I had heard and told me that they were on their way home. I was so scared. When the second tower fell, my heart dropped, and all I could think about was how this wasn't an accident and who was going to make whoever did this pay for what they did. My cousin had called me shortly after, and let me know he had been called to the scene and told me to pray. He had said that the ash cloud was so big he could see it on the way there from miles and miles away. He also let me know that there were a lot of people, more specifically first responders, who had already passed unseen. Before I knew it, my phone call was over. And I never got to talk to my cousin again. When we heard about the potential attack on the White House, we panicked. I was concerned that we were going to lose our president in the same day. And I feared for my kids' lives. My partner and I were devastated. In the days and weeks that followed that fateful September day in 2001, our nation, and indeed the world, came together in unity and resilience. The tragic events of 9/11 shook us to our core, but they also showed the strength and compassion of humanity. As the days turned into weeks, my family and I, along with countless, we prayed for the missing, supported each other, and mourned the loss of so many lives. It was a time of sorrow and reflection, but also a time of coming together. Over time, we learned to heal, though the scars of that day would forever remain in our hearts. We remembered the heroes who rushed to help, the first responders who selflessly risked their lives, and the ordinary people who showed extraordinary kindness. As for my cousin, he became one of the many brave souls who answered the call that day. He gave everything to help, and we are immensely proud of his courage and dedication. Though we never got to speak again, his memory lives on as a symbol of the strength and resilience that emerged from the ashes of 9/11. The world changed on that September morning, and it would never be the same again. We learned to cherish our loved ones, appreciate each day, and stand together.